Who's an internet famous person that needs to go away? 1. Nikocado Avocado. Somebody get that poor man off the internet and into a therapist's office. 2. Ace Family. Using kids for money is the worst shit any parents could have done. 3. That family that adopted the Chinese kid, raised him for like 3 to 4 years, discovered he had disabilities, and gave him away so they could find themselves and help him lead a better life. Except the person they gave him to is now using him on Instagram for their own exposure and greed. 4. Every family blog channel trying to get views with shit like we called Chuck E. Cheese at 3 a.m. and Among Us in real life gone wrong. 5. The whole 5 Minutes Crafts company for creating complete dangerous lies nonstop. 6. That vegan teacher. 7. The guy on TikTok sticking his tongue out when eating something. 8. Basically all of those life hack channels. A majority of them are telling people do things that are extremely dangerous and will likely put people in the hospital or kill them. 9. Andrew Tate at the moment borderline pedophile and sexist, and he's straight up just scamming his fanboys. It's sad to be honest. 10. Anyone that uses their kids for likes and views. Adults may bug me but they can make their own decisions. Kids can't.
My husband left me for his sick ex-girlfriend because she's like family, so I left him behind and he lost it all. My husband, we'll call him Seb, and his ex Tanya stayed close friends after they split up a few years back when she cheated on him. I won't pretend it didn't bother me. It did then, and it bothers me now because Tanya is still crazy about my husband. She never denied it and in fact would even call or message me when she can't get a hold of Seb. Aside from cancer, she also has some mental health issues. Thus, my husband would always tell me to be kind and patient. Seb is no longer in love with her, of course. She cheated, and Seb swore that he would never get back to her and that he only sees her as family. 2 weeks ago, my husband received a call from Tanya to tell him about the sad news. My husband cried with her and told her everything was going to be okay. They were on the phone the whole day. Seb and I moved to Australia a few months ago because of my job, and Tanya is in Canada. They mostly talk via long-distance calls or WhatsApp. They've been in contact almost every day since we left. This always bothers me, but what can I do? After that call, my husband told me everything. To be honest, I felt bad for her, and I genuinely feel sad. I asked him what's going to happen now. Seb told me he's going back to Canada, which is a shock. He then told me that her last wish is to be with him. I didn't say anything except, what about me? He said if I can't leave my job, he will visit me whenever he can. I walked out without saying anything. Since the phone call, I've avoided my husband and ignored him whenever he tried to bring up the conversation. I learned he had already bought a ticket yesterday and was flying back home in January. I feel like he's abandoning me, but at the same time, I feel that I'm selfish for hating both of them. I'm honestly thinking of getting a divorce because obviously he's choosing her over me, but at the same time, I thought of why my husband is so attached to her. I feel sick and confused. I want to call her, yell at her for ruining my marriage, for trying to steal my husband from me, for using her sickness to get what she wants, for being a bachelor. I'm so mad at both of them. What did I do to deserve this? Update. Seb flew back to Canada in January last year. Before he flew, we talked about the situation, and I told him I've been in contact with a divorce lawyer. He was surprised. He said he didn't expect me to leave him just because he needed to be with his family. I remember that at the time, all I felt was anger. I was so mad that he's making it sound like I'm the bad person. Nevertheless, the conversation didn't end well. He left without closure, but said he would be back in March. I was left alone. January to March last year were the darkest days of my life. I knew I did nothing wrong, but I blamed myself for everything. I hate to admit it, but I canceled the meeting with my lawyer as I started to doubt if I really wanted to leave him or not. I love him so much that I'm willing to accept him again when he's back. During the entire time he was gone, he rarely called to check on me. I had to call him most of the time. I know, I'm dumb. I feel so alone and sad. I begged for his attention, to give me some time and be with me again. All that time he kept telling me that Tanya needed him more. March. I was expecting him to come back so we can talk, but he didn't come back. He said he needed to stay longer and promised me he would be back in May. I don't know what happened to me when I got that call from him in early March to tell me he wouldn't be flying back to Australia. At the time, I felt like there was a switch that suddenly turned off because somehow I stopped caring. When he told me he wouldn't be back until May, I knew I had to move forward without him. Fast forward to May, and he was back. That day we sat down to talk. He broke down and said, I can't lose you too. When he said that, I thought Tanya was gone, but no, she's not. As far as I know, she's still alive. I asked what happened, and he told me that Tanya asked him to go back and be with me. He said that Tanya was sorry for everything. Seb didn't want to leave her, especially when he saw how bad she was doing. They had a fight, and according to him, Tanya wants him out of her life. If I was the same dumb person, I would totally accept him back. But at that time, all I could think was, he's only back because Tanya doesn't want him anymore. I let him cry. I comforted him and let him stay in my apartment. A week later, I told him I was divorcing him. At first, he refused to leave. It was a long and painful process, but on my birthday in July, he finally realized that he couldn't manipulate me anymore. By August, he was back in Canada. The divorce is not finalized yet, but we have been separated since he left. He tried to contact me several times last year, and Tanya also tried. Everyone, including my family, tried to convince me to give him a second chance. But that day in March, when I finally returned to my senses, I knew nothing could make me change my mind. Last year was a major turning point of my life. Seb still bothers me occasionally, but he knows I couldn't care less anymore. Our common friends have told me that he's not doing well. He became an alcoholic and couldn't get a good job because of it. He's mostly couch surfing because Tanya doesn't want him to live with her. Lol, that biatch. My boyfriend was going to propose, but it turned into the worst day ever. Now they'll face me in court, not at the altar. About a week ago, my boyfriend said he was going camping on Friday with his buddies. He told me there wouldn't be any cell service and he'd be back Sunday. This morning at 5 a.m., he texted saying they were leaving for the trip. Around 8, I went for a run like I usually do on Fridays. I have one headphone in while I do it because I was on a work call. While I was running, I noticed a SUV that kept popping up. In hindsight, it looked just like my boyfriend's childhood friend's car. I sent a message to my sister saying to stand by and share my location. Right after sending the message, I looked up, and the SUV was right beside me, and someone jumped out and grabbed me. It happened so fast, I even dropped my phone on the pavement. I was pulled into this car, and I could tell there were at least 2 masked guys in the back before they covered my eyes. In hindsight, they had cartoonish ski masks and black gloves on. I freaked out and resisted like crazy, screaming and kicking. All I could hear was these guys laughing, and I could feel one of them holding me down by my arms behind me, and the other was holding my legs down at the knees. I don't know how long I was there, but I kept begging them to let me go and crying. I even admit I peed on myself, but I don't think they noticed until we arrived at the house. They pulled me out of the car, and I was screaming for help until I was pulled into a house. When the mask on my head was removed, I was on my knees in front of my boyfriend of 2 years. He stared at me with a confused look before asking his friends what was going on angrily. I realized who he was and what was going on and collapsed into sobs. I probably had a 5-minute panic attack in that car and another sitting in the entryway to his house on my way there. I was sweaty, wearing soiled yoga pants, flushed with fear, and scared for my life. My boyfriend took me upstairs and was going to help me get showered and changed, but I wanted to do that alone. I heard yelling and commotion downstairs while I showered, but I didn't know what is going on. I'm sitting in his room now holding my shattered phone after crying to my sister about what happened. She lives 1.5 hours away but is speeding over to get me now. I can't stop thinking about what happened, and even though I know now I was never in any danger, I don't think my brain can comprehend it. They were snickering and teasing me in deepened voices about what they would do to me. The one that was holding my legs down kept caressing my thighs up and down into the inner area. When the car would brake, his face kept falling into my chest. I don't even know who that was. Update: I'm working with the police now. This will be investigated as false imprisonment if I press charges. My sense of time was so warped. From where I was picked up to his house, I was about 7 or 10 minutes in the car. It felt way longer than that. As for the friends, the driver was his childhood best friend, who I get along with well. He was in tears when he voluntarily arrived at the police station for a statement. The other two were friends from his athletics class he started attending a few months ago. It seemed like the two guys I didn't know wanted in on what otherwise was supposed to be something more innocent. The original plan was for them to pop out of this car in their funny kidnapping attire and hand me a letter explaining that my boyfriend was summoning me and that resistance was futile. The plan seemed to change as the two new friends wanted to shake me up and make it feel more real. Update 2: I've calmed down and talked with my sister. We are going to meet up with my boyfriend for dinner tonight. He has respected my requests for space, but has been emotional whenever he thinks about what I went through this morning. His best friend contacted me repeatedly, apologizing for allowing it to get that far, but I asked for him to stop and he did. The best friend's fiance reached out and has been supportive and apologetic too. Update 3: In short, I'm healing. My now fiance had a private proposal with me last week. We had many tough conversations, and his responses to everything reminded me how safe and loved I was by him. He didn't ask for or endorse that type of plan. I've learned that the two friends I didn't know were highly influenced by YouTube pranksters and social experiment channels. New update: 2024 was crazy for me. I spent the entire year working on myself in therapy. I developed an obvious trauma response to being in public, especially when men would be sneaking up behind me or quickly exiting cars near me, but I also developed a fear that made life tough. I became very afraid of my fiance's friends. I love and trust my friends and family with all of my being, but I couldn't trust anyone who was brought into our life because of a feeling of a loss of control. I decided to end things with my ex-fiance. It was tough and took months to do, but I feel better for it. He is a great man, but his and his friends' behaviors before, during, and after the incident gave me pause. The doubt and mental anguish was too much, and I just had to run away from it all. Shockingly to me, I feel immensely better now. It's almost like a switch went off, and being away from him has greatly expedited my healing. I'm scared of being at my age and starting over, but I'd rather not be married at all than live in stress like I was. Also, here is an update on the legal side. The charges were dropped, and I could not mentally pursue anything further. I will say the lives of his friends have been stained, and I don't care to check the extent. I just know there was a breakup, and one was kicked out of their living situation.